enough, in my opinion. Great. So then, guys and girls, what boring conversation are we going to partake in today then? Well, obviously you've seen the title to the video, you may have seen a thumbnail. Yes, this video is about virtual reality. I think I said on a previous video that I was looking to buy the PlayStation VR kit that is actually due out next month now, so you know, time flies. And I've been doing a fair bit of research on the VR state as it is in at the moment, with currently retail versions of the hardware that are out for the PC, and I've had the opportunity of doing a fair bit of extensive sort of testing, I suppose, really, of the Oculus Rift version of VR. So this is the one that's been bought by Facebook. Originally it was Kickstarter, I think. Quite a few years ago, well, I say quite a few years ago, certainly, what, 2 years ago now? It's been in sort of development, and this year they actually bought out the retail consumer version of the Oculus Rift. I've actually got here, I've been fortunate enough to have been lent the development kit 2, which is the previous version to the current retail version. There are some differences, and I'll sort of go through that as I sort of give you my opinion on VR and where it is at the moment with the technology that's available. But I've also been testing the consumer version of the Oculus Rift as well. I haven't got that here. The reason why I've got the development version, or the DK2 as the nerds call it, is effectively because my best mate has just bought, or say just bought, he probably had it about a month ago, the retail version of Oculus Rift called CV1, and he had the DK2 before, the development version. So he said to me, look mate, take it away, have a play with it and whatever, tell me what you think. And I've actually used his consumer version as well, so I've seen both of them sort of back to back, so I've got a fair idea. Well, no, I've got a very good idea of the current consumer version, because I've seen it, played it for quite a few hours really, tweaking things, and you guys know what I'm like with all the gadget side of things. So yeah, spent a fair bit of time on both of the units, but I've actually got the development kit here. I won't go through it. There's plenty of videos on YouTube about the Oculus Rift. Yeah, that's the unit. Yeah, so this is the development kit one, and there are some changes between this version and the consumer version. Not major changes, but there are changes. The current consumer version is an improvement over the development kit, but of course you can still use the development kit version on all the current software that's out at the moment, commercial. Excuse me, the commercially available VR software, games, etc., etc. So where are we with VR, and what's it all about? If you've never experienced VR with the current sort of technology, I would urge you to have a look at it. If you get a chance to use it, have a go at it. The biggest plus point about the VR is about the immersion of the experience, or the immersion, or the immersiveness. Is there such a word? Yeah, depending on what piece of software you're using, be it a game or application or whatever, it's being immersed into the virtual reality sort of simulation. And it is one of those things, guys, that unless you have used it, I wouldn't poo-poo it, because it is pretty awesome. I've got to be honest. I've been playing quite a few racing games on VR. The game that I get on with the best in respect to VR and so forth is Project Cars. It's on the PCs, it's on the consoles, but in VR on the PC, it is a totally different game, and you can't explain this stuff. I mean, you've got to use it, but it's and there's plenty of things on YouTube about footage of VR, and of course you can't show it on video. You just can't show it on video, you know, in a 2D video. So there's no point me showing you any footage of anything, because you won't be able to experience the VR side of it, you know, which is obviously what it's all about. But the racing game, or Project Cars, and there's a few more racing games that will work in VR. If you imagine that like I'm sitting here now, and I can turn around, and I can turn all the way around, and I see everything around me. That is what you see when you're playing a racing car game in VR. You know, you sat there, the steering wheel's in front of you, and you look down, and you've got your body. Okay, I know it's not your body, it's the VR body, but everything is in the right place, especially when you're playing in a racing rig like I've got. You know, you'll see there, and you're in your seat, and it is so freaky, yet it feels so natural, and it is a weird experience, and it adds so much more to the game. I didn't think it would do, and until I've actually started playing this Oculus Rift, I'd never really looked at the current technology around VR, to be fair, and it is a totally different playing experience. It adds so much more to the game. I spent a few hours on Project Cars in the first sort of instance that I was playing with it, and I took the headset off and then tried to play it again on my normal monitor screen on my racing rig, and the game felt crap. It just didn't give the same experience by any stretch. It was measurably different, the experience. You know, you lean forward in the cockpit, and obviously your dials in front of you get clearer the closer you get towards them with your head, and the rear view mirror. You see the rear view mirror there, and you can even look round it and you see the side of the mirror. It's so natural, like you would expect to see in real life. Obviously it doesn't look like real life, but you get that dimensional effect in it. It is outstanding. And of course, when you're driving, you know, when you're naturally driving normally, like, and you're looking out your side mirror, you know, and you'll see the car coming to the side of you, and of course you get that anyway in a normal 2D display, but the fact you can turn your head and your whole vision turns round and you see the car there, or you can look over here where the passenger seat is and you see that, you can look behind you and see what's coming behind you, like you would in a normal car. It adds such a different dimension. It really does, and it's something you can't really explain. You've got to experience it. So certainly for driving games, and the immersion side of it is brilliant. It really is brilliant. And even with the development kit version, it's great. And, you know, the head tracking, because they've got to track. They've got to track this thing, so you get a sensor you put on top of your monitor. Certainly with this version of the Oculus Rift, a bit like a PlayStation sort of camera you stick on top of your monitor, and it tracks your head, and there's no latency there, there's no lag, and that's the development kit version. So from that side, the immersion around that side is really good. If we put the immersion side of the the current hardware to one side, and what that actually provides us in that sort of virtual reality environment, which I think is absolutely bang on. I don't think there's anything that in reality needs to be improved around that. What I want to centre on is the current technology around the displays that are actually in the VR head units. And it's really to do with the I suppose the key point is around the resolution. Imagine if you took your phone and you held your phone sort of this close to your eyes, with a magnifying lens in there, so you could actually see everything that was on the display in focus. You'd actually see the dots or the pixels on the screen itself, and that is an effect that you get on the current virtual reality headsets. Whilst that's not a major issue in itself, I think what the biggest issue is the actual resolution of the displays. Development Kit 2 is effectively, I think it's running, each eye sees a 1080p resolution screen. And the current consumer version of the Rift, exactly the same with the Vive, which is the other PC headset you can get. They've got a slightly higher resolution. It isn't jaw-droppingly different, but the new headsets are sharper. However, because the pixel count still isn't that high, it's not 4K. I actually think it needs to be 4K per eye to ensure that the resolution is at an appropriate level, so you can see detail. And this is what it's about. It's if you play on a normal display, on a normal screen, normal monitor, obviously you're at a distance where you don't get pixelization, because that's basically what you're getting. You're getting pixelation, or pixelization, not pixelization, no such word. Pixelation, that is definitely a word. And it's slightly distracting. It's slightly distracting. Like I said, the current consumer version of the Oculus Rift is better than the development kit, but it's not massively better. And because the resolution is quite low, you tend to not see the detail that you want to see in a game, especially when you're looking at things that are in the distance. You know, on a driving game, you are coming up to a corner on a track and you're trying to find the apex, and if you know the track, it's fine, you know where the apex is, so you're doing it from memory. But if it's a new track, it's slightly difficult at times to see detail, and you can see that with things like text and so forth as well that's on the screen. It isn't always really sharp and really clear. So certainly to me personally, that is the biggest downside of the current technology, is the resolution of the displays. It doesn't actually impact the immersion side of the experience, because that's really good. But I personally feel that the resolution of the displays needs to be ramped up. It'll need to get to sort of 4K sort of type of resolution to be able to provide you with a sharp enough display so you can see all the detail. You know, at the moment we've got these PCs and these consoles that are producing sort of a lot of detail on the graphics, and you tend to lose a hell of a lot of that with the current technology in respect to the screens. Now, I don't know if the screen technology is available to really ramp up the resolution, or whether it's a cost thing with the current release of the hardware specification and want to keep the cost down. I don't know. I would imagine it's a bit of both. But to me, they've got to ramp up the resolution. The resolution side is the biggest disappointment to me. I really think that if you get into the VR at the moment, it's not perfect. I think the immersion side is more or less perfect, but the actual quality of the images that you see, or the screen and the resolution and so forth, needs to be vastly improved, in my opinion. And then the downside to that is if you crank up the resolution on the displays, then it will require a lot more GPU power to be able to display the image, because effectively you're going to have two eye displays, and if they're both 4K each, that would require some serious GPU grunt. So that's the downside of that as well. So again, in some respects, certainly in respect to cost, we're not there yet to be able to sort of have a consumer version of that is fairly reasonable. So whilst I will say that the current technology of VR is really good, I do think it's really good, certainly from an immersion perspective. It's so immersive, it's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. I earlier today actually, I looked at a demo of a roller coaster simulator, and I like roller coasters, but they do make me feel sick at times. So I do wonder actually why I like them, but I do like them. But I stuck the headset on and I put this simulator on, and I felt physically sick. It's a weird feeling, because you know you're not sat on a roller coaster, but your eyes are obviously telling your brain that you're going all over the place, and you've got massive drops either side of you, and you're sort of you're going up this steep slope in a roller coaster, and if you sit at the front and you look over the top, and as it drops over, and my stomach, you know that feeling you get when you go over the top in a roller coaster, and my stomach went, you know, I wasn't physically sick, but I felt sick. I did feel sick, and I feel like that actually when I'm on a roller coaster. So for it to make your brain think that just through the eyes, because that's what it is, it's only because of what you're seeing. It is unbelievable, it really is. But yeah, so is it something that I'm going to be getting into now at the moment? Because I've got the PSVR headset on pre-order still. However, I may cancel it now, and it's purely down to the resolution side of it. It doesn't give me the experience that I want, because I'm used to high def stuff now. You know, I've spent a lot of money on GPU graphics cards for my gaming PC, and I play games now with all the details ramped up and stuff, so I'm used to that, and that's what I want. That to me is current gen now. So to go back from that and view graphics that are they're a bit retro in some way because of the resolution of the screen, it's not something that it's not something that excites me, if I'm being honest. The technology itself is great. I mean, it really is great, but the headsets aren't particularly cheap. The cheapest one at the moment is the Oculus, which is around about £550, but you need a decent PC to power that as well. So you're talking well over £1,000, you know, for a setup to play virtual reality decently. The cheapest way, obviously, to get into it will be with the PlayStation VR, but again, like I said, that's supposed to be low resolution. Someone online that's seen the PlayStation VR and has sampled other versions of VR, current versions of VR, has said that it's very much similar to the Development Kit 2, which is what I've got here, in respect of the screen quality. It's slightly better, but it is closer to Development Kit 2 than it is to the current consumer version of the Rift and also the Vive. So that in itself has made me think, yeah, do I really want to get into this now then? I think it needs another 12, 18 months, 2 years personally, purely from the technological perspective of the screens. But guys, if you ever get a chance to get onto an Oculus or whatever, it will, if you're into sort of racing games, it will blow your brains. I can absolutely guarantee it will absolutely blow your brains. But I think there's an element of advancement that needs to be made, certainly with the screens. But once they crack that and they get high resolution screens, it will be absolutely phenomenal. I think it really, really will be. I think the games that in current sort of gaming sort of genres. Certainly at the moment, I think there's some games that will suit VR more than others. Things like simulators, definitely. I'm not sure your first-person shooters will benefit at the moment. And so again, the sort of scope I think is slightly limited in regards to gaming and certainly genres of games. But again, that's going to develop and develop and develop. Is it something that's going to be a flash in the pan? I don't think it will be. I really don't think it will be. I think once they start getting the technology better in respect to the screens, I think it will be so much better, and it really does add a totally different dimension. I mean, it really, really does. So yeah, I think the future's pretty bright, to be honest, for VR, and I look forward to seeing any new advancements. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll speak to you again soon.